Hi everyone, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Sosan, and I appreciate you for taking time out of your day to spend with me. I know this video is super late, but we are here, better late than never. We'll be going through my February plan with me today, and this theme, the spread, and overall layout can be used any time of the year. So feel free to grab your journal and plan alongside me. Or if you'd like to just sit back and chill, grab a snack, a hot beverage of your choice, and your water if you haven't already, and we can get into it. For this month's setup, it took me a couple of days to decide on a theme, but after going back and forth on a few ideas, I settled on vintage roses and paired them with some romantic aesthetic images. I looked up these images online and I printed them out at home. I've pre-cut many of these images, some stickers, as well as my quote and headers to save some time, but I've left a few to show you all how I go about things throughout this video. As you see here, I initially started with ripping up images that I had chosen to try a textured look with washi tape, and I decided to stick with some cleaner lines instead, letting go of my original plan to use the washi tapes. It was a little bit harder than the rip texture just because the product itself is called the Vintage Rose Collection from Notebook Therapy, and as the title suggests, it just seems so fitting with the vintage rose theme I wanted to use today. But you'll see it takes me a minute to finally drop the washi, but once I do, I feel like the spread just flowed together a lot more smoothly. There's a sweet simplicity to how everything came together visually for me, and that makes me really happy because compared to my setup, this is far more my vibe, my style, and just feels a lot more thought out in comparison. And yeah. Though I didn't follow through with some of my ideas, I kept those clips in because I wanted to be transparent with my process and do that as often as I can. Creating collages takes time, and there's a trial and error phase of figuring things out and seeing what feels best and what different elements you decide on in each one of their placements. So if you want to try creating a collage of your own, I highly recommend for you to take your time, give yourself grace throughout the process, and go with what feels right to you. As you can see, it took me a short while here, but in real time, this video took me 7.5 hours to film, and that's after I cut and prepped almost everything off camera. Even then, I still changed my mind on some things, and once the camera was rolling, you kind of figure things out as you go. Or at least I did. It's all part of the process, friends, so breathe through it and take breaks and step away when you need to help look at things with a fresh mind and a fresh set of eyes. And know that as long as it looks good to you, that's all that matters. Now, the stickers I've cut out to use throughout each spread, it's from a couple of washi tape rolls that came in a set I got off Amazon, this being one of them. In case any of you are interested, I'll be sure to link everything I use in the description box, so be sure to check that out after this video. I really love the gold foiling and detail on this washi roll, cutting each part to use as an individual sticker was time consuming and tedious to say, but so worth it. I have to say, the quote that I chosen for my cover page is my absolute favorite part. It reads, "She is the soul of the universe, and her name is love." Just sit with that for a moment and let me know what comes to mind when you think of this quote in the comments. Personally, I love love, and it's such a special energy to carry and feel. I don't consider it to be just a quote-unquote feeling that comes and goes. As I mentioned, it's an energy to me. It can be an energetic state of being, even choosing to think, feel, speak, and act from a place of mindful and compassionate love is, in my opinion, a sure way to experience the endless forms of love around us. If you couldn't tell, I'm very much a hopeful romantic. I can talk about love and its multitude of varying experiences for the entirety of this video, but there's much more to go over, so let's get back to this plan with me. You may have noticed I do use the dot grid spacing to ensure the ephemera is centered and placed evenly. With the quote and header down, using my tape runner to tape it in place, and the washi stickers to follow, that's going to complete my February cover page. Moving right along to my monthly calendar spread. I really like how this one came out too. It's still simple, yet has enough decorative elements for me. And to start, I'll be using my brown ink Pigma Micron pen in the 05 nib size to create the calendar lines with my ruler. And in a moment, you'll see me use my white jelly pen to clean up any lines outside the calendar too. Each day in the calendar is 6 dot grid spaces by 6 dot grid spaces. And I do prefer using both pages to create a full calendar overview. That way I have enough space to write out my scheduled appointments, my work and study hours, and any events for the month. I also decided to create the calendar to include the extra days for January and March, so that way it's all even. I'm using this cream colored grid post-it paper now, and my alphabet stamps with the archival ink pad in the color coffee to create the headers for the days of the week. First, I'll place a paper towel down after making sure that there's no smudged ink from before to ruin my spread. This is the exact method I used for my cover page quote and the headers and all the spreads to follow. I do like the letters to sit along the line on the grid paper to just make sure everything's even. I know some people don't mind the unevenness when stamping, but my OCD could never, so bear with me until I get it right. Once that's done, I will use what's become one of my favorite scissors to cut each letter, and I'll stick them down using my tape runner. You'll see that these scissors are really easy to use, they're travel friendly, and they don't strain my wrist or my fingers when I'm cutting, so I highly recommend them. And I'll have it linked in the description box below with everything else as I mentioned before. You'll see in just a moment now. For my habits on the side, I already had cut up some grid washi off its full roll and cut out an even calendar shape like the one I drew out. I realized that since a single dot grid space in my notebook equates to 4 grid spaces on the grid washi, 2 above and 2 below, it fits perfectly. After erasing all my pencil lines, I've stuck down my mini calendars, and you'll see in just a moment after I do, I will pick up another Pigma Micron in the brown ink color and the nib size 03 for my calendar dates. I'll write out the dates in each right corner for the days. I will also use the remaining pieces of the cream grid paper to create the habit titles after messing it up, but as Bob Ross would say, it was a happy little accident because I think it looks way better. And I'll also use my white jelly pen to clean up any remaining pen mistakes that are still showing underneath. The first 3 habits that I'll be tracking are filming, editing, and posting. If you follow me on social media, you know that this is the first thing I've posted all month, so that's okay. I more so wanted to just track how often it takes for me to do each one of these tasks and to get a better understanding of my time and energy spent. I had a lot of things come up for me this month, and I think that's totally okay because this is not something to, punish oneself for not tracking or completing a new habit. It's just to get an understanding of what it is that you want to work on, and so that's something I'll work on more in the next month. But the last habit that is for tracking the days I go to physical therapy or go to the gym or do yoga, and I might do both on a single day, but either way I'll just write PT, G, or Y in the little grid space for each calendar day in the habit tracker. To finish the spread, I add the little bow stickers to differentiate between the January and March dates in case I want to utilize them down the road. And I'll also add some stickers that I cut out from the washi roll to decorate. And once that's all done, this completes my calendar spread for February. Now for my monthly and weekly focus spread. I'll start off by writing out on the cream grid posted paper the days of the week for each week for the month. And I didn't think to write the weeks out as numbered in the year, so instead of writing week 5 through 9, I just wrote 1 through 4 because I combined the last 2 days of February with the 4th week in the month. I wrote really small, so I'll add on screen how I wrote it out. Once I made sure all the spacing between each week is even, I use my tape runner to stick down the headers. Once I made sure all the spacing for each week is even, I'll use my tape runner to stick down the headers. I've also included a check-in to see where I'm at in the middle of the month and how I want to move forward. I find that this just helps me to stay focused on my intentions for the month. I've also used these same bow stickers to represent 3 bullet points for my monthly focus. You'll see that in just a second. And then after I decorate with some stickers, that will complete my February focus spreads. And I just want to note that if there's any changes in the audio, like any little background sounds, it's because it's starting to rain, or it already started, but that is what that sound is, if any of you can hear it. And my heater also turned on, because yeah. But now for my weekly spreads, I'll show you how I make the first one, and then you'll see the rest in the final flip through, because it's all the same steps. Only thing that changes is where I place my decoration and mini calendar section. Just as before, I've used my stamps and my ink pad for the headers, and I stuck those down, followed with a similar layering technique as my cover page for the mini calendar and deco corner. And off to the left hand side, I created a things I love column just to take some time to reflect on things that bring me joy this month. I'm a major advocate for self-love, and considering it's the month of love and romance, why not pour into our own cup and romance ourselves a bit with the things that bring us joy? Using the bows as bullet points again, I'll list out different things or experiences that make me really happy. And I've used this Pigma Micron in the size 01 to split the pages into 4s for a larger space to write out my daily to-dos and notes. I created gaps between the lines for a more whimsical style, and I actually wish I did so for the calendar overview spread, but that's okay. I also messed up on my mini calendar, so I've pulled out my pocket notebook from Archer and Olive that was holding my left side of the bujo nice and even, and I got this craft dot grid notebook specifically to perform surgery on, to use for mini calendars and decorations such as this. So it pains me a bit, but I really love the craft paper aesthetic, and using a dot grid craft paper is just so much more easier and just coordinates with the dot grid notebook itself. So I'm using my Tombow brush pen in 772 to mark the line for the days of the week. And I'm going to fill that out off camera because, unlike before, I want to give it some more time to dry. And for my final spread of the month, I have my February review. I use the same cream grid paper you'll see in just a moment here to write out my prompts, and I line them up using the grid lines to make it look like one long paper. I'll have up on the screen the prompts that I used this month for you to read or screenshot if you'd like. I find that taking some time to reflect at the end of the month also helps me to prepare more mindfully for the next. I have many intentions and goals for this year, so I want to set myself up for success as often as possible. And I think I forgot to mention in my Bujo setup video, but my words of the year for 2023 are discipline and balance. So by being mindful of my intentions and my actions, as well as just my overall habits, I plan on strengthening my self-discipline and balancing out my life in every aspect throughout the year. Of course, it's going to take time to strengthen, but the key is actually just consistency and determination to return to what works best for me if and whenever I fall off track or get swept up in taking things a bit easier when I'm working with my mental and my emotional health, as it naturally fluctuates, being human and all. So now we've come to the end of the spread with some stickers to decorate, and we can move along to my final flip through. I want to thank you all again for joining me on this plan with me for February. I really hope you like how it turned out as much as I do. We have my cover page, my monthly calendar, my monthly and weekly focus, and then we'll have in just a second here my weekly spreads that I created both on screen with you and the ones to follow that I created off camera, as I mentioned earlier. I'd love for you to comment something below that just brings you major joy in your life. It can be anything. Something I'll definitely add to my things I love list is watching anime, because if you know, you know. And then both reading and buying books, because those are two completely different hobbies for sure. And also add any pink emoji to your comment so I know that you stayed all the way to the end. And with that said, I am sending you lots of love, and I really hope that you've enjoyed this month, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye, friends.